Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Talks. This is number 6. The last time we sent you guys a video was 3 months ago. So we have a lot to bring you up to speed on. Some of it new, some of it very positive. So yeah, if you read the title, you probably saw that it says Real Talks Brain Cancer / Wilson's Disease. And we'll get into all that, but we'll update you first on the cancer. So positive in that, I went 2 months ago to UCSF to get my MRI done and talk to the oncologist, fully expecting that we were going to start treatment on you pinching my nipple, thank you. Supposed to start treatment. What we expected was going to be 6 weeks of radiation. And instead, got really good news that my cancer was actually downgraded. If you remember from previous videos, I had what's called an astrocytoma. It is good, but still bad in that on a good note, I was still looking at like 15, 20 years as kind of the normal life expectancy for somebody with an astrocytoma. It's just the reality of it. The new diagnosis is what's called an oligodendrocytoma. It's a mouthful, but ultimately all that means is I got decades. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Sorry if you thought you were going to get rid of me. You got me for much longer. The good news of it too is that I don't have to do any treatment. So no chemotherapy, no radiation.
No man in the iron mask.
No, just gonna have to monitor it. So
Yes.
I go back in November for another MRI and another visit with the oncologist. But ultimately, it's 3 months. Every 3 months, I got to go out for MRIs for at least a little while until we can confirm that it's stabilized. And hopefully, it's once a year. We'll learn more as it kind of moves forward. But yeah, that's the cancer update. You can see the hair's come back. You can hardly even identify that I had a craniotomy. I've got a little bit of scarring that kind of puffs up on the right side, but outside that, the symptoms from it have all gone. Feeling pretty damn good with it. So again, just can't say enough about that team out there. They're phenomenal. They've just really taken care of us and answered questions. She was on FaceTime with me when I was out there because she couldn't come out with the school. The doctors are all just super cool. So super happy where we're at there. The new update. I have Wilson's disease. And no, it has nothing to do with a volleyball. I'm not turning into a volleyball or getting paid by them for this video. It's a very rare recessive disease that both parents have to have it, don't necessarily have to show signs of it, but they have to carry it. Unfortunately, I have it and I'm developing the symptoms of it. What is Wilson's disease? It's ultimately, in a nutshell, my body cannot process copper, of all things. Very strange. So instead of passing it through your system, my body stores it. And most people that have Wilson's disease either have a toxic level of it in their kidneys and liver, or they have a very high toxic level of it in their brain. You'll have it in both areas, but it tends to either be in one or the other. I have it in my brain. So let's talk about how we got there. I was actually in the VA for something that's not related to either the cancer or the Wilson's disease. I have neuropathy.
Yes, another issue.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I just look at myself and say, why are you a walking bag of problems? Any rate, I have neuropathy in my feet that's from Iraq. That's a whole nother video, another conversation, but I was there discussing that for treatment.
I've had it for a while.
I've had it for a long time, new. Yeah, like this isn't new. But I was in there just talking about how it's gotten a little worse and what we can do to kind of start doing some stuff to help mitigate it. Any rate, this neurologist, very, very good. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but he has 35, 40 years in the in the practice, and he noticed some other signs that I was showing, and I was with him for over an hour, just kind of give you an idea how intense it was. And he was going through family history, all kinds of stuff, just to kind of get narrowed down. And he didn't mention Wilson's disease at the time, but he says, I want you to do some tests. I'm going to call out a lot of tests that I think I want to see the results from. I was like, sure. So I went down. They had me in the lab that day. So I finished up with him in the hour. I went downstairs. I was at the VA hospital, went straight to the labs. They did 20 vials of blood draw on me. I saw all the tickets coming out, and the poor girl was even looking at it. She was like, holy crap. Like, but I guess she even made the comment, he's a very thorough neurologist. And I said, clearly. But one of them, which was interesting, was they wanted me to do a 24-hour urine test. And they give you this bottle, they wash it out with hydrochloric acid, and then for 24 hours, you pee in it. And you take that back to the lab results. And so did that test, and some of the stuff he noticed was like I had some tremors and stuff kind of at that, and he mentioned that. I didn't correlate that to anything. I was like, yeah, I've just had that. At any rate, so he had me do that test. I took it back, and then I got the results back, and he called me up and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know we got your results. We're going to want to have you come back in and see the neurology department again. My copper levels were 300. The normal person's copper levels in urine should be between 0 to 60. Is that what you said?
Approximately 0 to 30.
0 to 30, okay. So ultimately, I was extremely high in the copper urine test. So after that, I talked to him. He says, I'm going to send you to the optometrist, and they're going to do what's called a slit lamp test. And so they dilate your eyes, and then they use this crazy bright light that kind of makes like the back of your eyes flash back so they can see the front corneas really well. And I have copper deposits around my corneas. What's it called?
Kaiser-Fletcher rings.
Kaiser-Fletcher rings, yeah. So, which is very specific to Wilson's disease. So I have copper deposits happening in my eyes.
They're literally copper color. It's bizarre.
Yeah. So between the urine test and the Kaiser-Fletcher rings, they said, you have Wilson's disease, but we want to determine who's going to treat you. So they wanted to understand if I was going to work more with the GI and liver team, or if I was going to work with the neurologist and the neuro team. So they set me up for a liver biopsy to get some samples so that they could send that in and look for the liver signs, which is like liver cirrhosis and copper in the liver. And that was an experience all in itself. I have had a few surgeries now, and this one was excruciatingly painful. They're supposed to do local sedation, right? Is that what it's called? Where they don't put you out, but they put gas. They're supposed to put a gas on you that makes you pretty much sleepy.
It's not gas. They give you an IV. They should give you Versed and fentanyl.
I didn't have an IV. I had a mask thingy.
You had an IV too.
I did, but they didn't put anything in there. They did the mask.
That was probably just oxygen.
Oh, well, no wonder it hurt.
No. He should have had a Versed and fentanyl. Conscious sedation is what he should have had.
Right. Well, I was not sedated.
He shouldn't have remembered, and he should not have felt it.
Yeah, so
But
he wanted
both happened.
He wanted to start at the top and try the top lobe because obviously that's easier to get to.
Well, it's giant.
Yeah, and rather than come down here through the rib cage. So when they numbed it up and they punched it in, I didn't have any problems. As soon as he hit the liver, it was excruciating pain. Like I knocked down the sidewalls of my bed that I was in or whatever they're working on, like almost jumped out of the stupid bed. He like pulled back, he jumped, the doctor jumped, everybody was staring at him and looking at me.
Should not have happened.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's like, you shouldn't feel that. I'm like, I felt like every bit of it. It was horrific. So they start to doing, he's like, well, let's double the dosage. So they tried to double up. He literally said double up the dosage to get me knocked out again. They do that. He goes in again. Same results. Like, I am just screaming. I'm cussing essentially at them. Like, this is horrific. And the poor nurse behind me, she was so freaked out. She actually started to like pray for me. She's like holding my head, telling me to breathe. And at the same time, she's like praying. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Any rate, so he's like, we're not going up top. So he says, we're going to go to the lower side. So they reset up. They move the tables. They got to redo everything because he's set up on the left side. Now you got set up on the right side.
He's
so they're
just trying now.
Yeah, they're scrambling. The nurses are moving everything around to get him reset up again. At this point, the doctor's stressed out. The nurse is trying to help, like, mark the spot.
Yeah. And he's like, screw it, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, he's like, no. He's like telling nurses to get out of the way. Like, he's stressed. He's telling nurses to get out of his way. He's cussing. He's marking me up. He's like, and so they go in the lower side, and they hit me again. Same thing. Hurts like hell. I'm like, I am not doing this again. I was like, doctor. He's like, what do you want to do?
If you don't get it now, I'm not coming back. So
I was like,
tell me.
Let's do this. So literally, I was just like, punch it through, man. I was like,
fight on this.
Yeah, like the old school, like we gotta do what we gotta do. So he does. He gets through the outside layer or sac or wherever that the liver is in, and once that was through, it wasn't like I was getting absolutely shot in the body as he's trying to do this. It hurt, but it was like manageable. So I could feel him in there, and I was like, I'm okay. So he starts taking tissue samples. I can feel the stupid thing like grippy clamping, pulling out the liver pieces. They get 5 liver pieces, patch me up, send me on my way. And I'm like, holy crap, I am not doing that again. Anyhow, positive piece of that is it came back positive, so
yes.
I don't have to do it again.
Yes.
No signs of cirrhosis, no heavy signs of copper toxins in my liver, which we kind of expected already. My symptoms leaned into the neuro problem to begin with, but it confirmed which team I was going to work with.
That's all we needed.
Yeah. So today, as we are doing this, it's September 15th. I just got done seeing my neurologist, specifically for the Wilson's disease, not anything else. And she was phenomenal, very thorough. We confirmed a lot of the symptoms that I'm having. We have a game plan. I'll talk a little bit about the symptoms because I think it's important to understand how the symptoms show themselves. And just so you know, Wilson's disease can often be misdiagnosed as an alcoholic liver,
fatty liver.
A fatty liver. Sometimes it's misdiagnosed as having hepatitis. It isn't uncommon that people will go through life with Wilson's disease and die from it, and not even know that was actually what they were fighting in the first place. Lots of crazy symptoms, things that show early in life that looking back, you're like, wow, I never knew that was unusual, to things that as it gets worse, it really starts to show its head, and you start to see the true symptoms of it.
That are very classic signs of Wilson's.
Yeah. So these you don't necessarily get all of these, and there's other symptoms that you can have that I don't necessarily have that are still part of the disease that I think it's important people are aware of. I'll talk about mine and the ones that I rate kind of worst to least, but I have. The ones that I hate that affect me probably more so than other things.
Look, I put them in order.
Thank you. Yeah, so a lot of you may know that I enjoy the gym. I enjoy the sport of bodybuilding. It's a place for me to decompress. I like the effects and like looking good. I like the bodybuilding sport. It's challenging, and a big piece of that sport is eating, and you got to eat a lot. It's just the fact of it. That's part of it. So one of the symptoms of Wilson's disease is that it suppresses your appetite. and it's a lot to do with your body just trying to protect itself.
It can't handle any extra copper. I don't want it. Don't feed me.
Yeah, don't give me any more toxins. So I don't have an appetite. It's crazy. You can put really good dinners and stuff in front of me, or I could be at a really good restaurant. I know it tastes good, and when I eat it, it does taste good. I just don't naturally have the desire to eat. So I kind of have to force feed myself, if you will. I kind of have to just be like, you got to eat some food. And it sucks because I need to eat a lot for some of the goals that I have. And this disease is very counterintuitive to it. That's one. That's not necessarily everybody's worst, I'm sure. Like these are my worsts for what affects me in my personal life. The second is probably the tremors. It's very common for the neurological signs to show tremors, specifically in your hands. I have pretty significant hand tremors. Some days are better than others. Some days aren't bad at all. But on the bad days, it kind of looks like onset Parkinson's. It's kind of stupid.
If you didn't know any better.
Yeah, if you didn't know me and you were looking at me, I can't hold a glass of wine. I would shake the wine out of it. It's really retarded. Sometimes I have a problem picking something up off the counter that's small.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes more obvious when I'm trying to focus on doing something that's like requires short, small hand movements, like trying to paint a figurine or something like that. It looks terrible. And I have it, unfortunately, in both hands. I have signs of it developing in my feet as well. I've got some tremors in my feet, which is kind of strange. And working with this neurologist, which she knows what she's looking for. You probably would never notice it, but I notice it. There's a small tremor starting to develop in my head and my neck. You wouldn't see it, but I can feel it sometimes when I'm focused on it. I'll feel like my head is kind of just shaking, just barely.
Very finely.
Yeah. That one drives me crazy because again, I don't like losing motor skills and stuff like that. It's just annoying to have that. The probably third thing that drives me crazy is Wilson's disease is very common to cause fatigue. You just have a lack of energy and drive.
This is headache, by the way.
Oh, that one's a big one too. Yeah, so let me back up a little bit. So
I write in nurse lingo, so he's like,
yeah.
What the hell is HA?
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I would put that ahead of that one. So another symptom that's common with Wilson's disease is the headaches, hence how we kind of got to the brain tumor, which was crazy. The brain tumor was definitely making it worse. But the Wilson's disease is a big cause of my regular headaches that I have all the time.
Oh yeah, talk about the scan.
Oh yeah, so
you could see it.
Yeah, so we had my MRI. So I've had too many MRIs, and I'm going to continue to have them. But they do have all these different MRIs that I've had since going through the brain cancer. But what she did, instead of just where we kind of always just looked and stopped where the tumor was, she actually used the MRI and went down into the brain, and you could literally see the copper deposits in my brain, which was crazy. You could see where the copper discoloration and where it's building up, really kind of in the center of my brain, and you could see the inflammation and where some of that inflammation and copper deposits are pressing up onto blood vessels that are in my brain, where she said is very likely what's causing possibly the headaches, but definitely what she thinks is causing the hand tremors. We'll talk a little bit about the anxiety that's down my list. But those neurological symptoms is definitely where the copper is pressing into blood vessels and nerve pieces of the brain, and you could literally see it. It was crazy. And I'm not a medical person, but when it came up, I was like,
what looks abnormal.
Yeah, like my tumor, it just stood out. Yeah, you're like, that's clearly not supposed to be there. Any rate, but But yeah, that is definitely probably something that drives me crazy is that I have headaches daily. Some days are better than others. Again, it's kind of like the hand tremors. But I ultimately, I'm just constantly having to deal with a headache. Yeah. Kind of move down this list again for you guys quickly here. So outside that, I'd say the next thing, symptoms, if you have Wilson's disease and to look out for, or you don't know if you have Wilson's disease, is just random anxiety. Nothing to cause it. You just have anxiety. I'll wake up. It happens for me a lot at night where I'll just all of a sudden wake up panicked and I'll have to pace around and just kind of calm myself back down and breathe. But that's not an uncommon symptom for people with Wilson's disease. I do have that one. We touched on the fatigue a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the lack of wanting to get up and do shit. Like you just want to lay in bed.
You don't have the energy.
Yeah, it's not necessarily depression. You just don't have energy to do anything. Yeah. And you just, it can fall into depression because you just start feeling shitty. But it's just a symptom of it is just the fatigue is definitely there. That's one of the symptoms that I'm also dealing with. Muscle tension, a really weird thing to have as well. Besides having the tremors, I have this feeling where my muscles are just super tense. And the best way I can explain it is when you wake up in the morning and you stretch, you know how that stretch feels good and you just kind of like release that tension. I have that tension and I stretch and I don't get that relief. That's one of the ones I have. Just really annoying. Sometimes I'll feel like it's down my forearms and into my hands, and I gotta rub them to try to see if I get to loosen up. But I'll feel it through the entire body. Very, very strange symptom. But again, I'm kind of going through like top to bottom of what I have and what bothers me. Not the end of the world, just annoying. Probably after that's annoying that I have is edema. So another common side effect of Wilson's disease is you retain water in your abdomen and in your legs. It's not uncommon. I have it pretty bad in the legs. So when I take my socks off and stuff like that, if you've ever familiar with edema, your skin just stays squished down to whatever that shape was. So for a while. So here's my calf, here's my sock. I take it off and my leg still stays like this around wherever my leg was.
Might call it a sock line times 10.
Yeah, it's doesn't hurt, just looks gross. Don't like it. Other things that you would have that you're not necessarily aware of, but we should talk about because it's kind of part of the Wilson's disease, is frothy urine. You wouldn't think that that's abnormal if you always have it. Yeah,
abnormal.
It's abnormal. So when you pee and it looks like a hot tub bubbles afterwards, that's not normal.
No.
I've always had that. Who would have known? The next thing is probably the weird thing with like the skin. So you start to develop redness in your skin. It's like she was
literally from the copper.
Literally from the copper. So as I've progressed in the symptoms, I've started to develop more redness in my coloration, goldness in the eyes, redness in the skin, and
she called it copper skin.
Copper skinned, yeah. It's literally the copper deposits that are in your blood and get into your muscles, and you start showing it in all kinds of different ways. There's a lot of other symptoms that can be developed with Wilson's disease. Those lean more into the like the kidneys and liver issues
but those are still the same.
Yeah, they're still the same. I don't
appetite.
Yeah, I have the big signs. I don't have all of them, but I have the big signs.
I don't think you're missing any sign, honestly.
I think I got the barrel.
Yeah.
The barrel of monkeys. But at any rate, so we don't want to drag this out too long. We're already at 24 minutes here. What's the next steps? I am going to start with my doctor on a more homeopathic approach, which I actually agreed to. The medication that they use to strip the copper out of your body, there's two different names. I couldn't tell you the names of them. They're very they're pretty hardcore,
Yeah.
and they have pretty hardcore side effects.
And they're hard on your liver.
Go figure of all things. So
you gotta do something though, right?
we do, but we're not starting there.
No.
We're going to start with a dietitian and nutritionist and start working on foods and stuff like that have high copper contents, start eliminating them from my diet.
Unfortunately, we have to be pretty strict.
Pretty strict on it, yeah. And that's crazy, the things that have copper in them that you would never guess. Things that I love, like avocados, crab, chocolate, like wine. They all have copper contents in them. I can't eat mushrooms. Nuts, pretty much every nuts. Yeah, macadamias, walnuts, cashews.
You can have 3 olives.
Yeah, I'm allowed to have olives. 3. No, like I can't do anything like if it's a processed tomato juice and stuff like that. So no Bloody Marys unless I make the juice myself.
No. What's this I?
Right. I have to be careful on water. Like I gotta drink.
Oh yeah, tap water.
No tap water. I gotta drink bottled water. Yeah. Can't have a lot of high amounts of soda. Water.
One soda water. 12 ounces.
Yeah, I mean the list is crazy. No dark meats on birds.
Yeah.
No quail.
The yummy stuff.
The yummy stuff. No chicken thighs. No turkey legs. I can have turkey breast, chicken breast.
No thighs.
Yeah. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, I told him he's a true Viking after all. He can only have whitefish, butter, and potatoes.
Yeah.
And salt.
And salt. I was designed to eat the Viking dinner.
Yeah.
White cod, butter, salt, and potatoes.
And white rice.
And white rice.
Yeah.
Chicken and rice.
That's it.
I can eat the bodybuilder's diet, which I guess.
Freaking Viking.
I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, so we're going to start with just high levels of zinc.
Yes.
We're going to
when we're talking high, we're talking like 150 megs a day.
Yeah, we're going to try to start there.
Which we've already been doing like 60 a day, so.
Yeah.
And she said
double it. Yeah, so we're going to attack it with zinc.
It chelates the copper and helps. It binds with the copper and you excrete it via the zinc.
Yeah, so, and then obviously the diet, and that's a huge piece of it. And then she's got me scheduled to do an MRA on my neck and head to look at the blood vessels.
Make sure there's no clotting.
Yeah, make sure all that looks good in the brain and the neck. And then I'm set up for a Doppler ultrasound next week on my lower extremities from my hips down. Again, you got to remember that the blood is what carries the copper through the body. And so for years I've been, developing this symptoms and signs of the Wilson's disease. So imagine just dragging all those minerals and copper through your blood for 41 years. There's a potential that there's damage to the arteries and the blood vessels. So that's what she's looking at to make sure that that's not caused any type of clogging or damage.
And she's also trying to rule out those things as well, because if you're having clotting or issues with she's thinking if you are having clotting cerebrovascularly, that could be causing the tremor, so we want to rule that out.
Yeah.
And with the edema, if you're having clots in your lower legs, that could be causing the swelling and warmth as well too. So she wants to make sure
we're going after everything.
Those things aren't causing the tremors and those things aren't causing the edema.
Yep. So we've got a plan, and if it gets worse, obviously I'll start onto those harder core medication. Yeah. But if it stabilizes or if I show signs that it's coming down, which I have, November I'm going to see her again. She's going to do another urine test.
Pee in a bucket.
Yep, and then. From there, we'll determine if I stick with the course of action or if we have to go start tackling some medication. And I also have my next MRI with UCSF in November, so it's going to be we'll probably do another video in November, another update, because there'll be a lot more information. Anywho, we love you all. Like I said, there was a lot to do. It was easier to do this than try to put it all out on text and call everybody.
And this isn't even it. I feel this is consolidated.
This is a consolidated
got
version.
The Cliff Notes.
Yeah, it's been intense.
If you have questions, obviously reach out. Yeah. Text, call, message, comment, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see it.
Yep, exactly. Hopefully it helps somebody to try to diagnose themselves or figure out.
Start asking questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't take one person's opinion as fact.
No.
Keep asking questions.
This is something that if you don't take it seriously, it will kill you.
You will die.
Yeah, it's serious.
Might be 20 years, but
you'll die. Yeah.
It's literally toxic.
So, on a good note, Brittany is killing it. She's made Dean's List, still doing well.
Who am I killing?
She's still on track for graduation next August. We're underneath the year mark. She's in the grind.
Finish line.
Yeah. We're down to one kitty. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about. I think we talked about Marie Kitty in one of them.
Yeah. So, and our other one is he's an old scraggly man.
He's officially geriatric.
He's doing good though.
Yeah.
As best he can. I'd show it to him, but he's gross. But we love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Hope your guys' lives are at least a little bit less eventful. And at any rate,
all in all, we can't complain. Life's pretty damn good.
Nope. You got to keep moving forward. So, all right. Till next time. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.